Hi guys, and welcome to a new episode of A Dog's Soul. I'm Anita. I help you build a trusting relationship with your dog to overcome fear and reactivity. And today we're going to talk about how your dog feels when staying home alone is not so easy for him. Stay tuned and have fun. Alright, so whenever we leave our dogs alone, there are dogs who are fine with that, like my Sammy. He's just sleeping and sometimes chewing stuff, sometimes licking stuff, depending on what I prepare for him. And that's how it should be. The dog should be totally comfortable with the time he is alone. But there are dogs who really suffer because they have never learned how to relax when they're alone, how to occupy themselves when they're alone, and how to be comfortable when their human is not around. And the basic emotion behind this is panic. It's not only fear, it's panic. And this is something where we have to help our dogs. We have to help our dogs immediately, because living in a state of such an intense fear is so horrible. And this is something that happens to them every day. It's not like they are left alone once and then it's obvious that they cannot cope because they destroy stuff or they bark the whole day or something like that, and then they never have to endure it again. They have to do it every single day because people are going to work and grocery shopping and want to do stuff with their friends, which is fine, don't get me wrong, but it's only fine if the dog has learned how to deal with that, because we cannot just leave our dogs hanging. And this is also a reason for dogs to follow humans around, because they are just so afraid that the human leaves and they just don't want to let the human out of their sight. So they follow him all the time. And of course, this is exhausting because all the time they are following and uncomfortable while alone. They should be sleeping. And what happens to us when we don't sleep enough? We get cranky and very reactive. And it's the same thing for our dogs, let alone the health issues that come along with sleep deprivation. We know that, but sometimes we don't really pay much attention to it anyway. So in our lives and also in our dogs' lives. And this is something that has to stop. We have to take responsibility. We have to start training our dogs properly to be home alone. And this can only work if we, of course, provide for medical attention if there is anything that needs tending to, and we do enough brain games and stuff like that so the dog is, of course, mentally stimulated enough. And then we have to provide our dogs with the training to relax and have a safe zone where they can just calm down and sleep and do quiet things that we prepare for them. It's not that hard to train, it's just we have to do it. And if you don't want to let your dog suffer quietly or very loudly, depending on your dog, go to the description, check out the course, and start training today. It's nothing that can wait, and it's nothing that will go away on its own. A dog that isn't comfortable alone will not grow out of it. And yes, there is a confidence component to that. And sometimes if a dog gets comfortable and confident enough in his new environment after an adoption, staying home alone becomes easier. And sometimes there is no more issue if the confidence really is high enough. That's also why we have to do confidence building things with our dogs whenever we start training on staying home alone. But in a lot of cases where the dog really suffers from separation anxiety, the confidence building isn't enough. And that's when we really have to use management on one hand. So during the whole training process, the dog cannot be 1 second more alone than he can really endure or enjoy, actually, in a very relaxed way. So it could be necessary to take your dog with you. It could be necessary to get a sitter, or it could be necessary to place your dog somewhere when you're at work or something like that. Or you could work from home if that's a possibility. But this is something we really have to consider. And then we can start training and we can give our dogs the tools and the skills to just enjoy the alone time, because they can get some rest in and they can sleep and relax and do all those nice things. And of course, then they will no longer experience panic because they will be comfortable. And that should be our goal. And one more thing, there is something happening in dogs growing up where as a puppy, the dog was fine when he was left alone. And suddenly, when the dog hits puberty or adolescence, staying home alone is becoming more and more of an issue. And that happens really suddenly. And sometimes, of course, if something happens suddenly, a behavior change, then we have to get to the vet and get our dogs checked out because it can be medical. But in the development phase, we have to consider that it's just a fear period, a spooky period, and the brain development is just kicking up a notch, and we have to start from scratch. It's a little bit annoying, of course, but if our dogs need that, then we have to do it again. And yes, of course, since we have done it once with our puppies, we are more experienced in training, and of course our dogs will remember as well. So it might not take as long, and we will get our dogs back to a relaxed state in no time, but we really have to do it. And even if we don't understand why the dog suddenly cannot stay at home alone, relaxed as it did before. And yes, sometimes we really do not understand, because it's just something happened maybe while we were gone, and now the dog has lost his trust in the environment. And this is something we cannot really know, we cannot really understand, but this is a sign that we have to start training again. But the good thing is, training is really, really simple. It is really, really simple. It takes a little patience, but other than that, it's really just relaxing yourself and providing your dog with things to do. So again, if you need help with that, go to the description, check out the course. And I wish you an amazing time training with your dog. I wish you an amazing time relaxing with your dog and seeing changes in him being way more comfortable while he's alone than before. That said, I wish you a great week, and this is actually the last podcast before my vacation, and maybe this time I will really do it. And we'll see each other again in 3 weeks. Until then, bye.